Hello and good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, good evening, dependent on where you're joining me from today. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm very well aware that, for one, it's summertime and many of you might be on vacation or in the last few days running up to you taking vacation, or maybe you have a very, very busy schedule because you're in the middle of concluding an important project. So thank you for being here. And especially for today's topic, I appreciate that because it means that you have an intention to make a difference for your work schedule going forward. So I won't keep you any longer and we can get started. Our topic for today is how you can get from reactive to intentional. And I'm very aware that for many of us, we might start with a great intention, especially when we're new to the job, when we're new to a specific role, maybe within the same company. And then after a couple of days, maybe after a couple of weeks, we're wondering what happened to that intention? Because that intention might have gotten lost in everything that happens around us, people who are coming to us with lots of demands and requests, lots of new projects, or potentially just a very, very long to-do list due to the nature of what we do. So today is here to serve the purpose of just bringing back some clarity into how you can keep your intention and how you can be intentional every single day. Just a few words about me in case you haven't been on any of my webinars just yet. I'm an executive coach and a leadership developer. Now for the last, let's say 6 years, I moved out here to Dubai from Berlin with my family, my husband and my 3 children in 2021. I'm a PCC, which is an accreditation through the ICF, the world's biggest coaching organization. And I am certified in a couple of assessments, which also have the purpose of simply creating more self-awareness for you and understanding what would be the biggest gaps in your development based on the leadership vision that you have of yourself. I'm a former HR director, and I started my career working in tech startups, building and creating their HR processes, and then later handing them over to the teams that I had built. Now today, all of my time goes into being with you, offering insights and development to leaders like you. And what we will cover today in, let's say, about 30 minutes, and there will be time for Q&A afterwards, is most of all, why busy leaders stay busy. What is the motivation that you might be having behind staying as busy as you are? But what is the hidden cost of that? What might be the awareness gap that you might be having when it comes to busyness over intention? And how can we create a shift for you that brings you back to intention and gets you away from being reactive? And then at the end, that's your opportunity to bring in any questions that you might have. More than happy for you to pop them into the chat at any time when they come up. So let's begin with the reasons why you are actually as busy as you are at the moment. So for many of us, and to be very frank with you, that included me for many, many years as well, busyness simply feels productive. When I know at the end of the day that I have ticked off, let's say 10, 15 items on my to-do list, I feel productive. I'm looking back at what I did during the day, and when I know, oh, great, I have finished this, I finished that, I have sent off this very important email, I feel good. But what I'm oftentimes not asking myself is, how impactful was that really? How intentional was I about the things that I put onto my to-do list? I am simply comfortable and satisfied with the feeling of knowing I have accomplished, I have achieved, I have finished things during the day. Because our brain rewards activity and not impact. Our brain doesn't necessarily, unless we ask it very consciously, identify or analyze the impact of what we've been doing. For our brain, simply knowing that yes, we have ticked something off, we have completed something, that's rewarding. Whether it was the right thing to do with our time or not, Doesn't really matter so much. So this explains a very big chunk of why we love being busy, because busyness signals to our brain we are accomplishing, we are doing good. Now, of course, what that comes with is oftentimes also this perception in many, many organizations that busyness, especially when it equals a high number of output, means that you are good at your job. And that might then, of course, impact the identity that you have at work. So many leaders have built their identity really about also being indispensable. When you are being known as a person who is busy, who is productive, who is reliable when it comes to output, because people see how much you're accomplishing, then that creates a specific reputation of yourself. And people know this person is really good at what they do because their output is good, is so high. And then, of course, when we know that we are being perceived as such, what reason would we have to slow down and to do less? The danger might be when I'm doing less, people will perceive me as suddenly being lazy. Maybe they think I'm not motivated anymore. Maybe they now think that I'm not as valuable to the organization anymore as I was before. So this need of keeping busy, of keeping up that image, of being someone who constantly produces might be very important to you, regardless of whether that might actually be damaging to you or not. So now, when we are looking at our third factor that is very important for why busy leaders stay busy, that's what is called the control default. So the higher you rise within the organizational hierarchy, the more uncertainty might be there in your role. When you are very high up in the organization, first of all, you don't always have full control over what is happening. Because most problems, especially pressing and urgent problems, might now be brought to you. You're the person in charge. You will be the one who knows how to decide. So there's a lot of uncertainty around, okay, what is going to happen tomorrow? I am not sure what will be my highest priority, maybe even in 4 or 5 hours from now. So what will your brain also want to do to keep busy, to keep productive, is to do those things that you know that you're certain of that you need to do. And they might not be very big in magnitude they might not be very big in terms of importance or impact to the organization. But they are simply tasks that you can tick off, that you can achieve, that you can complete. And that brings us back to the comfort of motion that we just discussed. So these might be a couple of reasons why it's so comfortable, in a way, to be busy, because it brings advantages. It might make you feel good. But of course, that's not the whole story, especially when we're looking at the position that you are most likely in because you're here today. You might be in a senior management position in your organization. And with that position comes different responsibility, not just for yourself, but also for the organization and for the people around you. So the first thing, of course, that might be impactful when it comes to reaching a higher level in your organization is the strategic drift. You are no longer simply responsible for everything that's operational. You are no longer in the weeds of the day-to-day. But now you're in a position where you have the entire overview. You can see the big picture. You are getting involved when it comes to strategic topics in your organization. Now, the threat here, to be very frank with you, is that strategic topics always demand time. Strategic topics, simply because they are most of the time very complex and they might have many different implications onto your business overall, it's nothing that you decide just in a matter of seconds. It's something that you need to sit with, something that you need to take time for, something that you need to consider potentially also with other people who are involved, with peers, with other stakeholders. And now, given that you are already so busy, it's difficult to make time for strategic topics. And that's one thing that I hear so many times from many of my senior leaders in my coaching sessions. They are saying, I want to be more strategic, but I can't. And that's exactly that misperception. Of course, you can. You always have the choice. You are in this position to be more strategic. But maybe subconsciously, you are choosing to stay operational because operational might be easier for you. Operational might be faster. Operational might still be your comfort zone. But now your position demands of you to be more strategic and to take the time out for this. And that might bring you back to wondering, oh, can I afford to just sit for 2 or 3 hours and think about the strategic challenge right here? Maybe the opportunity cost seems too high. Maybe you will be thinking, oh, but then I won't be able to do A, B, C, and D. And this is exactly where today's topic comes in. What's your intention? Just for one moment, ask yourself, what is my actual intention? Am I here today because I want to keep working on the easy, smaller tasks that I can tick off and feel good? Or am I here because I love the challenge of working myself through a complex strategic topic? Yes, I'm here for the latter. And yes, that demands of me to sit for 2-3 hours and put everything else aside. And I might go home in the evening and I might not have accomplished in number as many things as usual. But if I sit with this topic for 2 or 3 hours, I will have accomplished something that will most likely be a lot more impactful for my team, for my organization, or even for my own learning and development. Because this topic was complex and difficult, I took away so much from it. So which is your intention? The next one that is very, very important when it comes to you now being in a senior leadership role is talent disengagement, frankly. So when, for example, your team is seeing that you are constantly firefighting, that you are constantly just making sure that things are getting done, probably even faster and faster, more and more, they might also not have the image of you that you might be able to sit with them in peace and quiet and have an important conversation. Or they might not even dare to interrupt you because they think, oh no, my boss is so busy right now. I don't want to go and knock at their door and ask them for 10 minutes. That will not be good for me because they will probably say, how dare you interrupt me? I don't have time right now. So think of that for a second as well. How available are you to your team when you are caught up in the business trap, when you are constantly reacting? How much time do you take, for example, for one-on-one meetings? How much time do you take to listen to an employee who simply needs to sit with you and talk? Maybe because there is a private challenge that they need to solve, but they need to have your support for it. How well will you be able to really develop a successor as well, for example, if you're not approachable? Because people might think, no, they are too busy. I don't dare to interrupt. Let's take a quick look at, for example, the cognitive depletion as well. Because when we look at it from a neuroscientific point of view, what's oftentimes forgotten is that when we're being stressed, and that's exactly what's happening when we're reacting, right? When we're in a reactive mode, when we're caught in the busyness trap, as I called it, we are stressed. We are running from one thing to the next. What that means is oftentimes that our brain is not able to be completely open-minded. We are not able to be creative. We are not able to, as we talked about it earlier, take a moment and think about a complex request in peace and quiet. And what that means is that cognitively, we are not able to give our best. When we're stressed, worst case, we might not even be able to access our prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of rational thinking, logical thinking, seeing the big picture. Because from a neuroscientific point of view, when we are being stressed, what oftentimes takes over is our emotional center, is the amygdala, because stress, when it's chronic especially, signals that we are under threat. And when that happens, we are starting to have a tunnel vision. Maybe that's something that you can relate to. And when we have a tunnel vision, we can't access the prefrontal cortex. We won't be able to actually find the best solution to the problem at hand because we can't access all the information that we have saved up here. So just reflect on that for a second and ask yourself, when you are in reactive firefighting mode, how satisfied are you with the decisions as well that you're making? When you reflect on, for example, the last situation that you were in, and you were thinking, okay, I really rushed through that thing because I just wanted to get it done. Was it the best decision that you could have made? Did you create the best output that would have been possible in that moment? I'll leave that up to you, of course, but it might be worth considering what could have been alternative solutions to that problem. What could have been alternative decisions? And what might have changed for you if you had taken a little bit more time to think about this? So here's a moment for you to reflect. Think about last week or the last very busy week that you had. Maybe you were lucky and you were on vacation last week. How much of your time was spent reacting and how much of your time was spent choosing, being intentional? So this is something that you can definitely ask yourself, even on a daily basis. Check in with yourself every evening when you're coming home from work, maybe on your way home, if you're working in the office. If you're in home office, take a moment before you go downstairs or to the kitchen or to the dining room to be with the family or have your dinner. Ask yourself, think about today. How much time today did I spend reacting? And how much time did I actually spend choosing? Because to be honest with you, I've I've even noticed that for myself, especially a couple of years ago while I was still HR director. Barely ever did I wake up in the morning even and I ask myself, what is my intention for today? I didn't even take that few seconds to ask myself, what will make today a good day? Or what is most important for me today? I didn't. I didn't set an intention. I just got up and I was immediately caught in the usual rush of the day. Getting up, getting myself ready, getting the kids ready, making breakfast for everyone, putting everyone in the car, driving to kindergarten, driving to the office, arriving at the office, starting up my laptop, going through emails. And pretty much 5 minutes after I sat down, the first people came and they asked me questions. I started to put that into the to-dos that I had for the day. And yes, you heard that right. I basically started reacting from the very first moment I got up that day. And then I came home in the evening completely depleted and exhausted from all the reacting during the day and not having had much of an intention on what was really important. And I looked back at the day and oftentimes I even had the feeling, wow, what did I even accomplish? Because the big projects still remained untouched. Because that big important decision still wasn't made. Yes, I had 20 things ticked off on my to-do list. Great. I don't know how many employees that had come to me and asked a question. I was able to give them responses. Okay, great. But did I fulfill my role as HR director the way that I intended to fulfill it? No, I hadn't. Because I was so operational. I was barely strategic. And if anybody would have told me back then, just ask yourself this question. In the morning, what is your intention for today? And then check in with yourself in the evening and ask yourself, how much Was I actually spending time on being reactive over choosing what I wanted to do? That would have helped me a lot. But back then, I didn't have this awareness. And now I do. And so I hope that this is going to help you going forward. So this is where the awareness gap happens, right? Just with the example that I just shared with you. So the first thing is, what is my intention for today? Or maybe if it's not for today, what is my intention as the leader that I want to be? First, for example, and that's absolutely up to you, I'm calm under pressure. We just talked about stress, right? And how stress impacts our ability to think clearly, to find creative solutions, to see the big complex picture. When we're remaining calm, that allows us to be more creative, to think in a more complex way, to see the long-term implications of the decision that we are about to make. Another intention you might want to have is, I listen before I react, right? Oftentimes, we're operating on assumptions that we're making. Assumptions about something our team member might want to tell us. Assumptions about what might be the main goal of a specific task we were just handed. And that can be very dangerous because we will be operating based on our assumptions, but it might not be what the stakeholder that asked us about us was actually looking for. So we're wasting our time, we're wasting the other person's time. In worst case, we are damaging a relationship because they feel that we haven't even listened to them, which ultimately, of course, in this situation is true. So rather than wasting everybody's time, damaging important relationships, listen before you react. And listening in this context also means understand the other person. If there's something they said that we're not sure about, just ask. Everyone appreciates when you ask them clarifying questions, because that means for them that you care. You really want to understand what they are saying. So this is an intention that also, you might have guessed it, slows you down. Listening, being there in the moment, is something that grounds us. It's part of mindfulness, actually. So this also has a very positive impact on how stressed you might feel in that moment. Listening to others, forcing ourselves to only be there for the other person, helps us calm down. Being strategic and forward-looking is a fantastic intention that you can have for yourself. Hi, Hamada. Hello to England. So being strategic and forward-looking, if you have that as a reminder for yourself, when you're noticing, now that we're talking about self-awareness, that you're starting to be in firefighting mode again, that you're starting to be reactive, that you started to react before you listened, remind yourself, wait a second. My intention is to be strategic and forward-looking. My intention is not to firefight and react and stress myself out. My intention is different. Take a step back from that situation and then next ask yourself, so what do I need to do now to be intentional, to be strategic and forward-looking? Another intention that you can have, dependent on also, again, what is your leadership identity? What do you want to be seen as? Or who do you want to be seen as? My team feels supported by me. Could be another intention. Of course, then, what does that look like? How do I need to show up so that my team feels supported? What do I need to do so that my team feels supported? And on the other hand, what would lead my team to not feel supported? What might be the things that I'm doing currently that might lead my team to say they are by themselves, they are not being supported by me at all? And what do I need to change? So this touches upon that very big area of blind spots, because oftentimes, even if we have an intention, we might not know how that lands with others. So check in with others, ask for feedback, get the outside perspective, see if your intention matches how you're being perceived. It's very important, especially when we talk about your leadership identity. So this takes us to what others might be experiencing. Do you seem distracted and in a hurry? Well, if you're firefighting and constantly reactive, most likely, which again, as we talked about it just now, might lead your team to not wanting to disturb you, might not open up to you. What does that do to, for example, the psychological safety you have in your team when you show up as reactive and constantly firefighting? I dare say it's not supporting your psychological safety in your team. And you can then ask yourself, okay, so what is the implication of that for the degree of innovation in my team, for the creativity in my team, for the well-being of my team members, if you will? So other perceptions that people might have of you, especially when you feel you might be too reactive, you might solve problems before others finish speaking, or you operate mostly in the tactical rather than being strategic. So when you don't know exactly how others are perceiving you, just go and ask, especially when you are explaining that you want to be a better leader. You want to be more intentional. I bet that people will be appreciative of that. They will be grateful to hear that from you. And they will be more than glad to support you in that by giving you honest and open feedback. So this takes us to the shift that really changes everything. Most of all, it's the awareness of where you are right now. And all that takes is for you to just take a short break. I know how easy it is to get completely caught up in the doing. For me, back then, it was that I started my work at 8 a.m. and I pushed through oftentimes until the afternoon from one thing to the next. And then I noticed, oh, I actually didn't even have lunch yet. And it was 3 p.m. Not ideal. I didn't have enough water, for example. Maybe I didn't even have a bathroom break because I was just running and running and running. And I'm not going to start here with the effect of you not eating well, of you not drinking enough, what dehydration does to the brain as well. This is not today's topic. But it just shows you that you don't have any awareness of what you might be needing in that moment, or even how time is passing, also meaning how you might be wasting time running after things that might not be the most important in that moment. So when you are in a mode like that, simple hacks, like for example, setting an alarm, a reminder on your phone or on your smartwatch if you have one, that reads, are you reactive right now? Or how are you feeling right now? Helps, because that interrupts in that second. And it takes you out of reaction mode and you will be able to say, okay, I am completely reactive. When I'm being honest with myself, I have no idea when I was intentional the last time. Great, that takes you to awareness. Now you're actually in the moment. Now you're able to make a choice and to decide for yourself, okay, what am I going to do next? That brings you back to, I'll just quickly put this one more time, to your intention. This is now where you can tell yourself, okay, I'm completely reactive, but I want to be calm under pressure. Great. So what are we going to do? Take a deep breath. Change your body position. Oftentimes helps as well. Just really firmly putting both feet on the ground, putting your shoulders back, putting your head up does a lot, sends a totally different signal to your body. So find out what that can be. For you, just a small gesture that allows you to fully arrive in the moment, be more intentional. So this is what can help you during the day, in the moment, when you're being more reactive, to bring yourself to being more intentional. And another thing that I would love to share with you is, and that's one thing that really helped me, is to sit down and ask yourself, who am I as a leader right now? And who do I actually want to be? And what does that entail in terms of what are the behaviors that I'm showing? How am I being perceived by others? How am I feeling during the day? But also, being the leader I want to be, how am I changing the way I work? How am I dealing with the real strategic big projects? And how am I now making time for them? In other words, how am I choosing differently to become the leader I want to be? And that's the key, as with everything else as well. It's always your choice, especially in the position you're in. You choose what you want to do. Yes, I understand external expectations are there. We are all getting our tasks and projects, and there are timelines as well to be met. However, there is a huge portion of your day that you can control. And the question is, how can you control that better with intention, rather than being controlled by everything that is being given to you? So I hope that what you're taking away from today is how you can recognize the hidden driver. What is it that puts you into reaction mode? Is it the stakeholders that keep coming to you? Is it potentially your inability to say no? That's another huge topic that we could potentially have another session on. What are your boundaries? How are you protecting yourself to be more intentional? And how are you allowing others to put you into reactive mode, into firefighting mode? So here, then, what is your awareness gap? What keeps you from checking in with yourself? What keeps you from understanding how you actually show up compared to how you want to show up? What is the feedback that you can collect from others around you? Who can you ask? Whose opinion do you value? How can you build small moments of reflection into your day-to-day? Maybe it will be this question in the morning, what's my intention for today? Maybe it will be a reminder on your phone or on your smartwatch. Hold for a moment and check how reactive you are right now. Maybe it's a reflection in the evening. Or it could be a tea break, a coffee break, 10 minutes with a colleague of yours to have a conversation about how is it going today? What's your experience? And then, of course, identify one belief that you might be having that is behind all of this. Because when we're being frank with ourselves, everything that we decide, that we do, that we see, that we say, is driven by the belief system that we're holding. Many of the beliefs we have are empowering beliefs. But there is a good amount of beliefs that most of us are holding that are limiting beliefs. So how might they be driving your tendency to be reactive over being intentional? Where do they come from and how can you change them? And to be frank with you, this is the core of what I'm working on with everyone in my coaching, with everyone in my trainings, because there is one reaction that we're showing. It might be firefighting, but the cause for why we are subconsciously deciding to do exactly that is oftentimes buried deep down. And without us understanding where that comes from, we won't be able to change it. So today's session was a first opportunity for you to start understanding what causes me to be reactive and how can I become more intentional. And I hope that what I shared with you will be helpful to you. And if you're looking for more, then I am inviting you today to join the next cohort of my online course. It starts in September. We have 2 dates, September 1st and September 6th, and it runs over 24 weeks, once a week for 1 hour. And we are going to cover exactly those topics. We're talking about mindset, about limiting beliefs, emotional intelligence, intercultural intelligence. You will be having the opportunity to take 4 different personal assessments, which will all be debriefed one-on-one between you and me. And this will make this experience very individual for you. We will then look into your habit inventory. How are the habits that you're consciously and subconsciously having supporting you or deriving you from the goals that you're having? And how can you make it easier for yourself to reach your goals? And because this is not a course in which I'm leaving you alone, you will be paired up with an accountability partner in your cohort. And after the course is completed, we will check in 1 month after completion and 3 months after completion. How have you been doing? What else are you needing to build the success that you're looking for? So if you are interested in this, I would love to hear from you. And of course, I am also very much looking forward and curious about any questions that you might have about being reactive versus being intentional. So if there's anything you're curious about, let me know in the chat, please. Thank you, Jason. Okay, if there are no more questions for today, then I am thanking you very, very much for having been here with me. I appreciate that you were intentional about learning something about yourself. And I hope that this is going to help you going forward. And as I said, let me know if you want to learn more about my online course and how you can build the success that you're looking for. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again next time. The next webinar will be in a month from now, and I hope to see you all then. Thank you and have a wonderful remaining day.